Hi, welcome back. So when it comes to Tesla, we have to talk about the good and the bad, right? Please like, subscribe, share the video, and if you wouldn't mind, leave a comment down below. Now, I'm Truth Tom, and all I can do is tell you the truth as I know it. And we're all dependent on many different information sources. And I am certainly no different than anybody else in that world. Now, there's a lot of talk right now about the problems with Cybertruck sales. It's not selling like people expected it would. And that's fair, and it's true, and it's legit. Now, I'm not going to challenge that, except for to say that I want to take you back to when the concept first started, when the whole idea, remember the launch of the Cybertruck, and it was the first time we viewed it, and then they threw the steel ball at it, and of course the window broke or cracked. We all remember that debacle. Turns out Tesla turned that into a marketing thing, and it worked out good for them in the end. But now oh, you like my new hat? Cybercab. I just got this. Cybercab is coming soon to a world near you. So the Cybertruck, back when it was launched and all that stuff, what happened back then was they decided that trucks were selling really well back then. Everybody wanted a pickup truck, because pickup trucks back then were affordable. And they threw the Cybertruck into that category. And the original base model price, and I'm going to go by the base model for a minute here. I ordered my first one. I still have a standing order on it. I haven't bought one yet, but I still have a standing order. The original order for that truck was $39,000. Now that's a big deal. That was the single motor version. It was the lowest on the totem pole. And of course, then 2020 happened, and then the whole world changed. And then, knowing the cost of manufacturing the vehicle, and knowing that there was an enormously high demand for the vehicle, when it finally did launch, they put a price tag of $120,000 on it, or $100,000, I guess it was, for the big model, for the Foundation series, they called it. Now, they made two mistakes back then. Not so much the price. I think they allowed an unlimited supply of the Foundation series. They should have changed that. They should have said, okay, we're going to make 100,000 or 200,000 or whatever it was. They should have picked a number. But that went on too long. And because of that, it wasn't as special, really, because it wasn't like a collector's item. It wasn't a one-off thing. For a while there, it appeared like you could order a Foundation series forever. And then, and I'm moving fast through this, and then after that, they came out with the lower price version, the $79,000 version, which most of us thought was a good idea. And honestly, it wasn't much different than the Foundation series. It was really very similar. Essentially, it's kind of the same thing, except it didn't have the whole Cyber Beast thing or whatever. You didn't get the full self-driving, but it was essentially the same truck. And even though $79,000 was a better deal, keep in mind, at that very same time, all trucks were struggling to sell. Remember the $100,000 Fords? Remember the $100,000 Dodges? Do you remember all the trucks sitting on lots all over the country? Do you remember there was Ford had F-250s stored in big giant stadiums. I think they had, was it Kansas Motor Speedway? They had like thousands of them that were sitting there parked. in the grass that they couldn't sell. Then you had the growth, of course, in Tesla. Model Y had come out. Model 3 was selling like crazy. And all of a sudden there was this big, giant focus on battery electric vehicles. And then you had the whole hybrid thing came on. And then what happened was people were like, okay, what do I need a pickup truck for? Unless I'm a contractor, what the hell do I need this big monstrosity for? Why don't I just buy a Model Y or a Model 3 or a Ford hybrid or a Toyota hybrid or a RAV4 or whatever it was? So we lost our passion, I guess, if you will, for the pickup truck. And much of that was created by $100,000 Fords and $100,000 Cybertrucks. And by that time, you know, the horse, as they say, had already left the stable. I don't think we could turn back at that point. And then I think Tesla's knowing this, knowing that sales were down, knowing that the Cybertruck wasn't selling, it wasn't selling like it should. We expected that they would, you know, come up with an average of about 10,000 Cybertrucks per month. We certainly weren't expecting 5,000 per quarter. So it was a drastic reduction. And on top of that, it's an extremely expensive truck to build. It's a great truck. Everybody that has one loves it. They don't complain about it. You know, nobody's sending them back. You know, there are guys on YouTube that are trying to make this big deal about it's falling apart. Pieces are falling off it. They did have a recall for the throttle pedal, if you remember, the accelerator pedal. But apart from that, it's a beautiful truck. I've driven one quite a few times. I love it. I will buy one, by the way, hoping they don't discontinue it. But anyway, then what they decided to do was, okay, the sales are not what they should be. So what we're going to do is we're going to come out with a cheaper version. So they gave us the rear wheel drive version instead of an all-wheel drive. It was a step down, and they priced it at $62,900. I was immediately disappointed with the price. Then it turns out that they took away the air ride suspension, the adjustable suspension. That was a huge mistake. So now you're looking, and of course, as we know, they took away the hard tonneau. Then they offered you a soft tonneau if you wanted, but it was an extra $750. And they took away the outlets in the back, like the 110 outlets and the 240 outlet. They took away all that. Those were big mistakes. And honestly, all the little things they took out were fine, but the air ride suspension was a big deal. So now you're looking at $62,900 or what was it, $72,900 for the all-wheel drive version, right? So we were trying to figure out, why did they do this? Did they come up with the cheaper version in order to sell the higher price version? Because if you looked at the cheaper version, you were like, well, $62,900 for that, but my God, for 10 grand I get the extra this, the extra that, the extra the other. Why don't I just buy that? Well, that didn't happen. And anyway, here's my theory on this part of the subject, and then I'll get off it. I really, really believe that if they could take the $62,900, drop that down to $59,000 or $59,900, just below 60, offer the 0% financing with full self-driving, but bring back in 2 110 outlets or even 110 outlets in the bed, 110 outlets in the bed, and bring back the air ride suspension. I really think that would help the sales. Now, is that going to skyrocket the sales? No. But here's another thing. If we just understand that the only place currently, until about a week ago actually, that you could purchase the Cybertruck was in the United States. You can't buy it anywhere else in the world. Saudi Arabia just opened up Cybertruck sales. Now, who remembers, and I'm not being funny with this, I don't want to talk about terrorists, or I don't talk about any of this stuff, but who remembers any time years ago you had the problems all over the world with these regimes. You even had it in Iraq, you had it everywhere. And did you ever notice you would always see the militia groups riding around in Toyota pickups? Now, I'm not saying I want terrorist groups or militias or anybody like that driving around in Cybertrucks. But there was one thing that I noticed about that. Everybody worldwide wanted that Toyota pickup truck. Try to imagine when Cybertruck is released to the world, how collectively that demand worldwide could drive sales. The Cybertruck is a magnificent vehicle. Now, in the Middle East alone, they are so far ahead of us with solar generation. They are very, very intent on getting away from fossil fuels. It's funny, they've made all the money on the fossil fuels, but they know that the days are numbered for it. I firmly believe that unless Tesla discontinue Cybertruck, I really believe that there's going to be an enormous market for it over there. You know, you have Israel. You have, I believe we are going to make a deal in the Middle East between Gaza and Iran. If all that comes together, I truly believe that there will be high demand for Cybertruck over there. Now, Europe is questionable because Europe have these strict rules and strict standards, and somebody told me that there's a problem with the configuration of the truck in the front, the edges. There's a specific, you can't have these angles like the Cybertruck is. Europe want more rounded shapes, or there's some kind of criteria there. So I don't know about Europe. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. Maybe Cybertruck could be modified for Europe. I don't think this is a truck that you can modify very much because it's very costly to manufacture to begin with. And if something is not selling like hotcakes, you're not going to change a production line on a gamble like that, right? So South America also is wide open if they get approval down there. If you can start shipping Cybertrucks down to Mexico, imagine Colombia, imagine parts of South America, Honduras, Ecuador, all these other countries. Now, nobody, of course, has a market like the United States, but when you look at the rest of the world, and of course, last but not least, China. There are Cybertrucks right now driving around China. Now, we believe that some of those Cybertrucks are test vehicles. They're sending them out. I know there are restrictions with the Chinese government, with the CCP, but China, unlike the United States and Europe especially, China are very, very common sense approached when it comes to things. If they see the Cybertruck as a potential winner for China and for the Chinese people and for the CCP, they will figure out a way to make it legal for Cybertruck to operate in China. Look at that population. Now, India also has an enormous population. Now, there's a lot of poverty in India. There obviously isn't a very large middle class or upper class group there. But that doesn't mean that there are not people there who can afford to purchase vehicles like the Cybertruck. So anyway, look, I don't know what's going to happen with the Cybertruck. I don't know if it's going to continue. I don't know if it's going to exist. I hate to see it go away. And I do want to buy one, and I will at some point. I do think something is going to happen soon. They will either come out and say it's discontinued, which will suck for me because I never got one, or they will come out and say, here's a $50,000 or a $59,000 version, 0% financing, blah, 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 and then I'll jump on it. But I'll probably buy the Model Y. But I'm not saying I don't want one. Like I said, I have my original order, and I'll put a copy of that up here on the screen so you can see it, just so I can prove that I still have that order. And based on the number sequences in there, I think I came in, my order was like order number 250,000. Do you remember there was like over 1 million orders for that truck? But so I got notification very early on that I could apply for the Foundation series, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, 100 grand? No. I mean, do I have 100 grand that I can buy it? Of course I do. But I don't really need $100,000 anything as far as truck or transportation goes. So listen, tell me, what do you think? I know people say the Cybertruck is ugly. It's really not. I think it's beautiful. I think there are two groups of people in the world. There are people who think it's really nice, or there are people who think it's really ugly. And if you have decided it's really ugly, I'm not here to change your mind. But I love this truck. I've been to many of the Tesla charge events. I went to the Chattanooga charge. I went to Space Jam down in Florida, down at the Kennedy Space Center. And there are specific people there. Tesla Tino has one. Bearded Tesla guy has one. And the Real Drizzly has one. And I've gotten to know these guys a little bit. And I've talked to them. And just, I mean, Bearded Tesla guy and Tesla Tino, the places they have gone in their Cybertrucks is pretty amazing. And sadly, most of the world don't know how powerful these vehicles are and how amazing they are in really bad weather situations, in bad climate situations, in frost, in snow, in heat, in the mountains, in the desert. I think people need to figure out how powerful these vehicles are. And I love the Cybertruck. I don't want to see it go away. I really don't. There is a possibility it will. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we get news, maybe Sawyer Merritt or one of those guys will come out next week and say, oh, Cybertruck's orders or sales are skyrocketing in Saudi Arabia, or Cybertruck was approved for China, or it was approved for, South America or Colombia or one of those other countries. So that's really would be my dream. But that may not happen. So I know Brian from Future Ozza did a video this morning, and he was talking about the fact that the Cybertruck, they may discontinue. And he alluded to the fact that they are changing the manufacturing line down in Giga Texas. And I joked, it was a half joke, half serious. I believe they're going to be ramping up the Model Y production, and Model 3 is selling very well. And I also believe that Optimus robot will be starting soon. And anyway, I jokingly said to Brian in his comments, I said, you know what, Brian? Take that Cybertruck stuff and just push it over there beside the coffee machine, because we got some Model Ys and some Optimus robots to build. So let's get our butts on that. That's the stuff that's selling like hotcakes. The rumors, of course, of the next, the so-called Model 2 or Model Q, or the $25,000 lower cost Tesla vehicle. We don't know. We don't know what that is, but there are definitely changes happening down there. So tell me what you think about the Cybertruck. Tell me at what price would you be willing to pay for a Cybertruck? And if you were willing to pay for that, what would it look like? What would the configuration look like? And if you only had $50,000, and if you could only purchase certain parts of the Cybertruck, what would be the main things that would be a must for you in the Cybertruck? And also send me a list of the things that you really wouldn't care about. if they came with or without in the Cybertruck. So let me know in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. And by the way, I am rapidly coming up to 500 subscribers. I have no reason for that other than I just love numbers like that. And it makes me realize that making these videos gives me great joy on a daily basis. I see it as a form of therapy. I'm an investor in Tesla, but I study Tesla because I love the mission. I love the people that I'm meeting throughout my studying of Tesla. And anyway, to get to 500 subscribers on a little channel like mine was not possible without people like you. So thank you so much for watching.